won't believe who's next. Hannah Koenig is our next guest on Fempreneur Coach Connection, and she's talking why leadership is the ultimate skill set for navigating the entrepreneurial journey. She's a wealth, business, and leadership mentor, speaker, and founder of the Lead Well Summit. Hannah serves as a strategic partner for visionary entrepreneurs as they scale beyond 6 figures. Her work has been featured in Forbes, Thrive Global, Women Entrepreneur, ABC, CBS, NBC, and more. I'm excited to talk to this transformational mentor and leader. Up next. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wanted something more? More in business, home life, relationship life? Say word if you agree. Word. In 2019, I created a business for coaches to market in this wacky way, virtual events. All with a 7-to-7 job. I'm a full-time nurse, by the way. And like you, there were just not enough hours in the day. My partner was feeling alone, and generally, this wasn't fun anymore. But then I realized I needed to build myself back up. Mind, body, soul, and even my business. So I created a show that does just that, interviewing all types of coaches, life, wellness, fertility, career, financial, wealth, and business. Join me on my journey with some of the best coaches who want to empower other coaches to live their best lives and build businesses that fulfill them. My name is Nicole Beatty, and this is Fempreneur Coach Connection. Welcome to the show, Hannah.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. This is honestly an honor because I was looking at your Lead Well Summit and kind of prepping for this and was like, she really, really teaches amazing people and connects with amazing leaders. So I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, that project is a labor of love, and it's worth every moment. Yeah.
Honestly. How long have you been doing it? Because for those of you who don't know, Lead Well Summit is what we're talking about. And, you know, she's had the likes of Danica Patrick, that's the NASCAR driver. Like, she's pretty huge. When I saw that, I was like, whoa. You've had Allison Bird, you've had Kate Northrup. I mean, you've had transformational leaders talking about wealth and leadership. So like, how did that come about? And how did those people come about in your sphere?
Yeah. So actually last year was our first annual event. And the vision came through as the largest platform for real, relevant, and raw conversations on transformational wealth and leadership. I've been in the entrepreneurial space since 2018. And before that, I was in sort of the wellness, personal development, transformational spaces. And the heart of my work has always been the leadership skill set. And early on in the business world, especially the online business world, I noticed a lot of people who were jumping on sort of trends and tactics and going kind of like up, up, up on this entrepreneurial roller coaster with quick cash wins and strategies that weren't sustainable, and then crashing down. And I would end up coming into people's businesses and really having to repair the damage of some of that work, and seeing a lot of imbalances in sustainability, in equity, in so many different areas. And the thing that sustains people in this work, because it's not easy, right? I'm not one of those people who will tell you that this work is easy, but what sustains people in creating real impact, real legacy, and doing the work and really playing the long game is the foundational leadership skill set. And many of the leaders that I work with, and many of the leaders that I worked with, especially when I was in the personal development space, were grossly under-resourced. And what we are able to do when we are well-resourced is exponentially different than what we're able to do when we're not. And so that's at the heart of the work, is access to real conversation, real teaching, real wisdom from a myriad of people. You know, we have one of our speakers was Dr. Eugenia Chaix. She's a mathematician talking about transitioning the conversation in leadership from the gender binary, and then we have people who are best-selling authors, raw goddess, world-renowned speakers, but across the board, we have immense diversity in terms of people's background, not just racial diversity, but diversity in what people are bringing to the table, the perspectives, the work that people are doing. We have activists, we have people in like sustainable fashion, so and embodiment work, but really bringing together a collective of people to have conversations that matter, that foster community, that foster connection, and that resource people in the tools they need to succeed and prosper in creating great change in this world.
I really could feel that as I was really kind of reading up on it. I was like, wow, like she's really brought a different array. I mean, obviously business people, but people in different spaces that, I've never heard of, but obviously can be beneficial to me. So I appreciated that. And again, but it was also diverse. You said not just diversity, but it was a diverse lineup of different perspectives, nationalities and things like that. So I appreciate it as I was kind of just, doing this whole thing. But you said that you've been in this game since, you said 2018. And before that, what did you do before that?
Yeah, so I was in like the personal development space. I taught yoga. I ran and facilitated programs like personal development programs. I ran women's leadership trainings in Bali for 3 years.
Ooh.
and spent a lot of time in that world, which was amazing and helped me learn a lot, but also had, if you're familiar with any kind of activism or service work, the same exists in like the wellness space and in spiritual communities. There's kind of this understanding that to be of service, you have to also be in struggle. And I remember just hitting a breaking point with that and being like, this is not it. Right? So many of the people I was working with were brilliant at what they did, and we're still in this conversation of like ramen noodles or toothpaste, and that drastically changes the impact you're able to have.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That imagery that you just said there, I was like, wait, what?
I mean,
That's
that
true.
might
It
be
does
like,
affect a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
When school teachers are using part of their paycheck to buy crayons for their kids, like these are people in very essential leadership positions shaping the future. And I came to a point where I was like, this is not it. And the conversation of spending less, primarily for marginalized people, and also, for women, people with marginalized identity, often the conversation around money and wealth is solely focused around spending less instead of earning more. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yes, that exactly what you just said. That is always the conversation. And quite frankly, some leading women or people who are technically, in that gender marginalized part have pushed that agenda of spend less and not let's earn more. So I totally feel you there. So, let's get into it, because I want to make sure that we get to your 3 pillars of powerful leadership, because you're saying essentially that this, and knowing how to be a powerful leader, knowing how to navigate this, is going to help you in your journey. So achieving success, building wealth, all these things. So I want to make sure we get to those 3 pillars. And the first one that you have here is awareness. So a lot of things are awareness. So tell me what you mean about awareness when it relates to leadership.
Yeah. So these pillars are the foundational skill sets and the elements of what create profound leadership and impact. And without leadership, you can make a lot of money in this space, but without leadership, what are you building, right? How are you changing? How are you shaping the world, your community? So awareness is the first, and we always start with awareness work because clarity equals power, right? When I have clarity of mind, I'm able to be decisive. I'm able to make decisions. I'm not, what's the word I'm looking for? it creates delay when there's lack of clarity and there's lack of awareness. So
Yeah.
awareness gives you this competitive edge. And for leaders, all leadership work essentially begins with self-leadership, because if I can't lead me, how the heck am I supposed to lead my team? How am I leading a community of people? How are we creating a collective movement? So first, it's with my clients and in my work, we focus on awareness of your expertise, really knowing exactly who you are and exactly what you bring to the table. But also, and equally as important, is knowing where your strengths aren't. Right? This is where we are able to resource ourselves. So if I'm spending a lot of time, if I have a client who's in my space who's spending a lot of time working in areas where they don't have strengths, they're losing money, they're losing impact. So awareness of self and awareness of you in the context of your mission, in the context of your vision, in the context of the space and the communities that you serve.
So how do you gain this clarity? Because, as you're talking here, I understand. I'm totally with you on this awareness
Mhm.
piece here, because I'm a leader, kinda. I don't know if that's the best word for me to say, but I have nursing leadership to where I know how to lead a team in that regard. I don't know if I am a registered nurse, but
Mhm.
I know how to do those things. But when it comes to like leading a business team, leading my team business wise, I'm kind of like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And I really can't be the leader of my thing. So I guess the question
Yeah.
is, how do I gain awareness um, of my ability to lead and my strengths and my weaknesses?
So what is the thing that you do that is just easy for you?
Connection,
Yeah.
getting to know people, striking up a conversation, seeing where I can be helpful to somebody.
Mhm. And where do you lose time or find that you're frustrated?
Just in general, social
Or
media, all these things, social
yeah.
media and that sort of thing. Like, if I have somebody and the connection's there, boom, let's do
Mhm.
it. But I guess finding all the people.
So what I work toward with clients and what I recommend is when you know that thing that you're good at, you're like, I'm good at connecting people. I can connect people. I can build relationships. I can do that in my sleep. I know people who don't have that, right? That is a
Mm,
skill set. And that is the skill set that you have the most leverage with, right?
mhm.
The thing that
Yes.
it would be so easy for you that you would do it for free, that you probably do for free, is exactly what you should be being paid the most for, or and spending the most of your time in. So we work with my clients, I work to get them to, like, almost 70% of their activities are in the category of their strength. Everything
Mm.
else, we're looking at how do we either take it off your plate or minimize the time you spend there. Why?
So,
Because, yeah,
okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
because that's where you're going to see the most traction, and that's where you are the most essential.
So then it becomes more like a delegating those parts that aren't in my
Delegating or
strengths.
mitigating, right? So
Right.
they're all, every profession, every line of work, especially if you're an entrepreneur, and definitely when you're first starting out, you're
Mhm.
going to have to do, there is a list of things that you're going to have to do that you're not great at and that you don't want to do. But
Mm.
what of those are essential, and what of those are essential for you to learn? Right?
Mm.
Because I know people who are not. I mean, I get DMs all the time from people who, and I'm not a huge small talk person, but who are
Mhm.
trying to build relationship in the DMs in a really awkward way. And that's a powerful skill set.
That is a powerful skill set in which I have
Yeah.
not mastered at all, because I'm good at small talk, but I'm more at, like, let's chat. So,
Yeah.
DMs are kind of like,
Right.
like
But you build relationships, and relationships, I will say, those are like a foundational pillar of that sustain my own business, is building relationships. I used to think that I was wasting time and that I should be doing more, like, ambitious work.
Mhm.
And turns out, especially when the pandemic hit, I saw the power of the network that I've created. When I
Yeah.
built Leadwell, I saw the power of building relationships with people and being like, hey, can you connect me?
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
it's an amazing network that you got going there. So let's talk about accountability, the next pillar that you're talking about, matching commitment with integrity to
Yes.
create significant impact.
Yes. So actually, the second pillar is appreciation, but we will get to accountability at
Oh,
the end.
sorry, I read appreciation.
Yeah.
I
And
apologize for that one.
but accountability is super important, and we will definitely get there. So appreciation is honestly the most essential in self-leadership and in team leadership, and the most commonly overlooked. We live in a society that is so future-paced and so accomplishment oriented that what we see, especially with a lot of high performance, like high achievers and high performance individuals, is are these performative patterns that actually block our ability to lead. So we see like a lot of emotional withholding, like self-emotional withholding, where we have people who are living milestone to milestone. Like some people live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of, in the absence of appreciation, there's actually a lot of self-judgment and self-punishment that comes into play, right? Like I'm judging, I'm trying to make this thing bigger. Say we're doing lead well again this year. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. It's going to be faster. It's going to serve more people. It's going to make more money. If I negate what we've built thus far, then I am showing up in a way where I am ignoring a lot of the data, but I'm also I'm not in appreciation of the achievement, and it's a very different way of operating. And if I can't be in appreciation with myself of like, we did that, right? And no judgment on how big or how small, then that also doesn't translate to how I show up to the team who worked their butt off to make that happen.
That's so like that kind of hit me a little bit because, we don't, we go through things. Maybe there's a launch, maybe we do something. It didn't hit the number we wanted it to hit, or didn't hit the revenue we wanted it to hit, or the impact, or whatever the case, the metric that you thought it should be, or the impact you thought it should have. And there's no appreciation for the process. You had amazing conversations, you had amazing information, people that were there, the 50 or the 25, whatever number of people that came, they appreciated and they understood, and they got life-changing information from it. And to not appreciate it is to essentially poo-poo on them, and to poo-poo on that experience, and to poo-poo on the people that helped you to get to that experience. So that really kind of hit me there, as you said, that appreciation, and as you used it with your Lead Well Summit, that you have to appreciate what has happened, and how that result came through before you can move on and say, okay, let's go to the next thing, let's make it bigger and let's make it better. So that little thing hit me there, what you just said there.
And in line with that, something I would love your listeners to take away is the understanding and the awareness that you are your most valuable asset, right? I've been in this industry for a long time. I own property. I have multiple retirement accounts. I have investments in the stock market, and still the biggest return I've ever seen is when I bet on me and when I invest in me. Even in the losses that we took, even when we don't see an immediate ROI, nothing brings the return that I bring to the table. And the second best investment I've made is in the relationships and in the people who serve and support me.
Gotcha. I'm also gonna just piggyback on the appreciation part of it for leadership. So, we're in the pandemic. The listeners know that I am a registered nurse. And one of the issues, maybe this is just kind of a side note, one of the issues as it relates to where I'm going through and what a lot of people are going through as it relates to nursing in the field is that there's not enough appreciation, not necessarily from the public, but I'm talking about just from leadership of nursing, from the people above us who are making all the money and telling us what we're going to do. The appreciation is lacking, and so we no longer trust in our leadership. we no longer respect our leadership. So if we translate that to business, if there's no appreciation for processes and the people around us and the team we've built and the experiences we all have, whether they're negative or good, whatever the case may be, then your leadership is faulty and you're not really, really acting in true leadership where people can say, that's a leader. I will follow them, or I will give my all to them, or I will, I'll read their email, especially if you have like, an audience of some. So that kind of hit me in a different way. Hannah, I just want you to know
Yeah.
that it's not just business, all business and leadership, but it also is affected in many different areas. Appreciation, family, you could put it in family terms, appreciating your family.
Well, first, I want to acknowledge and honor you for your service and for being a first responder and for all of the labor and the time that you've put in and,
Well, thank
and the
you.
lives that you've saved and the space that you've held. And this is really common in top-down leadership. So traditional models of leadership that we see modeled in politics, in corporate, it's a top-down hierarchical structure. Mm-hmm. So it's a power over instead of power with or power to. And often in these top-down structures, we see a replacement or a misunderstanding of appreciation for recognition. And recognition is not the same as appreciation.
Oh,
right?
That's a good thing. Okay. Tell me the difference.
I can see you, I recognize you're doing this thing, but when I appreciate you, it's not based on the achievement, right? Recognition is often performance-based, but when I appreciate you for showing up, right? I appreciate you for who you are and what you bring to the table, regardless of whether or not you're having a high-performance day, because your value is not based on how much I can earn off of you.
Wow.
Your value is not based off of what you can do for me, but the fact that you show up. Your value is assumed and it's inherent. And that's the difference of appreciation. And when people feel that actually drastically changes performance. When you stop making people work for crumbs and you just give them what they are worthy of inherently, they show up better.
Oh my goodness, Hannah, don't make me cry. No, this is really touching me in a different way because I really thought this was going to go one way, and I'm sitting here like, what? She's saying these things, but I totally get that. Appreciation is different than what you said was recognition. It's just to show up. So let's get back to business. I'll actually kind of start to cry there a little bit as you were talking there. So I definitely appreciate that and what you said. Thank you. Okay, let's get to accountability now.
Accountability.
So we're now at accountability. So tell us about that.
We're now landing at accountability, and there are a lot of ideas about what is powerful and what creates power, but there is no power in a room where you don't have accountability. And we've seen this, we've seen examples of this in leadership, right? We saw examples of this in leadership during the pandemic, where there is a lack of accountability. And accountability is matching your commitment with integrity. And this is what creates impact, right? Not what I feel like, not what I can get away with, but what I've committed to and what is in line with my values or our shared values. And this is so, so powerful because especially as entrepreneurs, we become self-managers, right? We first become self-managers and then we become managers and leaders of teams. We run communities and collectives. We're putting important work out into the world. And if we're not held to the fire of accountability, we will not have sustainable impact. Right? If I don't hold myself, even if I'm a solopreneur, I'm working at home, I set some goals. What happens on the day where I don't feel like showing up? What happens when, and I see this happen all the time and it breaks my heart, people waiting to feel motivated or to feel inspired before they're willing to take action and make a difference.
Yeah. I sorry, I'm in a little bit of a fog because of the last one. So I
Mm.
do appreciate uh your patience with me and kind of getting to the last one. Um how do we how do we improve our accountability? I don't know if the word is improve. How do we hold ourselves
Yeah.
more accountable? I mean, if we're, obviously if we have that top down thing, we're holding, them to a certain level, but how do we hold ourselves at a certain level of accountability so
And
we can be effective?
that's the most important, right? Is not accountability is of course important in a team or in a client relationship. And if you don't have accountability with self, then it's not going to translate, right? I cannot hold someone else in their power if I'm not holding myself in mine. So what I do and what I recommend, and I strongly encourage other people to do, is to create barriers of accountability in your work, in your day-to-day life, in your schedule. And that means commitments that are witnessed or that are shared, right?
Mm,
Deadlines, um, people, right? I have a lot of people in my friendships and people that I pay to support me, right? Coaches, mentors
yeah.
who will call me in or even call me out if necessary, right? Who keep me grounded, who are who have permission, and only a few of those people, right? Not
Yeah.
everybody has permission.
I give you
Um,
permission to
right.
call
But
me out.
people who are in it, who are doing the work, who are like, this is not that, right?
Mhm.
So my value system in my business is shared, right?
Okay.
But also I put things on my calendar. Like I am somebody, if I have something I need to show up for, I will show up for it.
Mm,
But if I don't make a commitment, then what am I accountable to?
mm,
So the first is commitment, and specifically, I think shared commitment is really important. So if you're sharing the vision with somebody, if you're sharing the deadline with someone, if you have something scheduled, and that doesn't mean that things can't be rearranged or that things need to be rigid, but without actually making a commitment that you're held accountable to beyond yourself, it's
mm.
really easy to, I find with most people, we have the most indifference. It's just human nature when it comes to being accountable to ourselves versus being
Yeah.
accountable to others, right?
Very
That's
true.
that's why self-care for for a lot of people is like kind of like this back burner thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
who's
Yeah.
gonna hold me to that? I could just Netflix,
Like,
right?
yeah, especially like with the rewards, like, well,
Yeah,
I'll have an hour of this or something if I do this. And I'm like, "Well, I'll just have the hour of that. It doesn't matter."
yeah.
So,
But
so
if I have, say, a team member who sends me something and is like, I need this by Wednesday, then I'm gonna make sure they get it by Wednesday, because if
right.
it doesn't happen, then that person can't do their job.
Yeah.
If I have
Yeah.
a client call that's scheduled tomorrow morning, I'm gonna be there. Right? That person paid me. There was a contract. There was a barrier of accountability. There was a commitment. Right? If I have 25 speakers that I told that we would have this event go live on this date, it's going to go live on that date.
Yeah. 'Cause there's an expectation.
Right?
There's absolute
If I
expectation.
do something and somebody I know and respect who knows my work and does the work that I do that is out of integrity, and they call me out on it, I know I have an opportunity to make amends.
Mm.
Right? I know I have an opportunity to course correct.
How do you make how do you make amends? As you're saying that right there, that kind of hit me like, how do you make
Yeah.
amends there? That's like a deep thing. Like
Yeah.
I'm making amends for falling short of something that I was accountable to someone and I fell short. How do you
Yeah.
make amends there?
So I'm going to give you like the quick and dirty, because this could be its own podcast episode, and as
Yeah.
it should be. Um, the first and most important thing is acknowledgement, right?
Mm,
So again, this is in line with like pillars of powerful leadership. It's that awareness. It's like, okay, Nicole told me, Hannah, I love you, I love your work, I believe in you, and you shared something, and this is why, this is how it caused harm.
Mm.
I need to stop. I need to listen. I need to thank you for your willingness to let me know, to call me in. And then from there, I need to decide what I need to do differently, right? What I either need to accept or shift so that we can move forward.
This is a different type of leadership we're talking about to me, because it's not just, oh, I'm the head of my team. It's true connection with the people around you, and not just like your team, but the people around you, and how you show up for other people. Like, I see these three pillars and how you're just saying, yes, it's leadership, but just how to just show up for other people. So I definitely appreciate you giving us those three pillars there. So is there anything else you wanted to kind of
Yeah.
put on the
Well,
end of that for those
well,
pillars? And
in line with that, and this is the same way I come into my clients' businesses, as a strategic thought partner, as a leadership thought partner. So it is that same approach that I take to leading community, the same approach I take to leading a team. It's like, we're in this together, we're walking beside each other, we're serving each other. Because if I'm the power and I'm the source of power, and it's I speak, you listen, I stand, you sit, I say, you do, we're actually not leveraging the power, the potential, the capacity of the collective. And we have so much more when I say, you know what, Nicole is incredible at building relationships. What can Nicole do here, right? That I can't. What do you bring to the table? So if we're in the absence of these three pillars, we're actually cutting off access to our capacity to lead and our capacity to create real impact, because we're assuming that I know everything and I know how to do everything. But great leadership is knowing I know how to do this really well, and I have a strong vision. And all of this, like I hire people, I hire people to tell me what to do. Right?
Yeah.
I do, because I know what I'm great at. I know exactly who I am, and I know who I am not. And I would never assume that where I'm going or what I desire to build, that I could do that on my own. I alone am not going to smash the patriarchy. I alone am not going to end systemic oppression. And I would never operate under that level of delusion. So when we change the way we orient ourselves and the way we understand ourselves in the context of leadership, the way we lead changes, and what's available to us changes.
Well, I told you guys she would be an amazing mentor for this particular episode and talking about leadership and what that means. I mean, she's already kind of got me choked up about what leadership could look like for me, and what leadership needs to truly look like in many facets of life here. So on that note, we're going to wrap up and go to the next segment. So living your online best business life. And I wanted Hannah to give her take on her best advice for you just after this brief break. So we're back to the segment, Living Your Best Online Business Life. And we have Hannah here to tell us what her advice is for how to run an online business.
Yes. Okay, amazing. So I typically, just for context, I typically work with entrepreneurs who are scaling past the six-figure mark, because just based on statistics from the SBA, only between like 6 and 12 at the very highest percent of entrepreneurs ever earn beyond six figures in revenue, not profit. And that needs to change. However, if you're scaling up to that mark, the conversation is slightly different. So I'm going to share a little bit of both. When you're first starting your business, it's really important to, I'm going to give you some non-traditional advice because this is what I did. This is what I did with my early clients, and it makes a hell of a lot of difference. A lot of traditional business advice, especially in the online space, is going to teach you the value ladder, right? Step by step, you build a free thing, and then you build a low ticket thing, and then you build a mid ticket thing,
and then you build
a high ticket thing. And eventually one day you will have a business that can also pay, help you buy groceries. When I started my business, I was not in a position where I was willing to not be able to buy groceries. And I'm all about people being well-resourced. So when you first start out, with clients, and this is still what I focus on with clients, even when we're scaling, is knowing your expertise and leveraging your expertise, right? That thing you're great at, the thing that you do the best, the thing that you would do for free that you could do in your sleep, that's what you should be paying most for. And so instead of, we flip the value ladder upside down, and then we focus on creating a premium offer that gives you the most leverage for the least volume. So you can go deep instead of wide, because most people just starting out don't have the resources to go wide.
Yeah.
Don't have the time, don't have the capital to spare, right? So instead, where can you have the most impact in the shortest amount of time, right? But where can you also leverage the most? So I recommend premium offers and scaling top down. From there, when you've hit that sustainably, you have a lot more data on who you are as a business owner and what is working for you. And a lot of people think that scaling, beyond 6 figures means adding more, right? Layering on a bunch of team, maybe I'm doing ads, omnipresence. And it's often actually a process of refining, right? Again, this is a process of leverage. So the framework I work from is simple, impactful, and refined. Simple means a very clear revenue and profit structure, because they're not the same thing, right? You could be making 200,000 in your business, and I've seen behind the scenes of businesses that were spending $100,000 a month in ad spend, and really only at the end of the year making maybe like 60K in profit.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like I've seen it can be disproportionate. So it's like, oh, we had this 7-figure year, we had this 8-figure year, and what did that cost you? Right? So a very simple and clear revenue and profit structure. So both knowing how you make your money, and planning for that profit, right? Being very intentional. We use kind of a profit first structure so that we know how to, we know what you can spend and what you can leverage, and then impactful, right? Where are you going to make the most impact with your work? Where are you going to make the biggest difference? How do you elevate your offerings so that you can go deep before you go wide? And so that you can really show up and deliver. Because in your business, your relationships and your reputation will serve you far beyond anything that a Facebook ad can do for you.
Yeah. Are you talking, when you say going deep instead of wide, are you talking like a one-on-one coaching, one-on-one service, that sort of signature premium offer starting out, and then going into the courses and all the wideness that the course world brings? Is that what you're referring to?
So primarily, yes. And to do digital courses, you can make a lot of money in digital courses. And I've worked with, I have clients who run Facebook ad agencies and seen behind the scenes of a lot of these automated funnels. You're going to have the most impact and the most leverage quickly when you're doing a premium offer. So as a coach, as a consultant, as a service provider, when you're doing something where you can charge high ticket and you can make a lot of direct impact, and then that data you can take and make into a course. Now, it's not the only way to do it, but it is, especially if you're starting from a place where you're under-resourced, the way you're going to see the most traction the most quickly. Does that
how? Yeah. Yes, it does. But I also want to know, because deep down, I know the people are kind of thinking, Well, if I'm relatively new, how can I do the premium? They normally go to the lowest acceptable price for whatever that offer is, and then maybe they'll increase that price eventually. So, how do I kind of get away from that going to the lowest of the premium
Yeah.
prices? Should I go for the premium price and just kind of get better at it as I go, or what should I do there?
This is so interesting, and I was just having this conversation last night with my friend Lorianne, who has a consulting background and is from the consulting world. So I encourage you to think like a consultant. A consultant is coming to the table knowing all of my expertise is relevant, and whatever room I walk into, right? Whether it's this room of entrepreneurship or this room in the corporate sector, I'm still bringing me to the table. Now,
Yeah.
if you're not thinking that way, right? So if I am starting out, if I decide to start a new business and I'm trying to think of a good example for this. I'm going to teach people how to make candles, and I have never made a candle before. You're going to meet that imposter syndrome, and it's really not imposter syndrome in that context. It's like, oh, you are new and learning. So the difference is are you leveraging your expertise, or are you just starting out on something that you someday want to do? If you are, and I work with people who are, because that question is really important, right? Like, is it imposter syndrome, or are you just not there yet? Right?
Yeah.
So can I walk into a room and take ownership of this space? Before I started my business, I was a brand ambassador for like a big corporate restaurant chain. Like I had experience in the marketing world. I ran and sold retreats. I ran and sold trainings and programs. So I leveraged that knowledge in a new context. So if you're just starting out and you're like, I'm still figuring out how to do what I do, then that's a different conversation. But if you know what you do and what you're figuring it out is how to take your business online, right? Or how to optimize your business, then you're actually not new to the conversation.
Gotcha. Okay. That shifts it a little bit, because, some people, they legit don't know what they're teaching.
Right.
They
And
haven't
that's
quite
okay.
experienced it. And some people they do, and that's okay because you are learning. So, are you requiring premium pricing? At that point, you're talking about, I have the expertise, maybe just, realign it in a different way in a different market. So I totally get that. That is awesome. Okay. So let's go to our last segment. Let's connect. This segment's all about connecting and making connections between our guests and our audience, because we want to make sure that you guys are talking and you're having interactions there. So Hannah, who would you like to pull into your inner circle? Who would you like to get to know?
So we will be looking for a project manager at the end of Q2. Again, we do a very big annual wealth and leadership event, the Lead Well Summit, and I highly encourage you all to check it out. But we will need some project management support for that, and we're opening up a membership as well.
Ooh, that sounds juicy. So let us know in the comments if you are a project manager or someone who has experience in, and this is a virtual event, or is this an in-person
It's a virtual event?
It's all virtual. Okay, so this is an all virtual event. If you have experience as a part of, I know some people. So I'm excited to see people come in and say, I would love to participate in that. It's the Lead Well Summit. Just Google it. It's there. You can see the last one and, and what it was about. And so let's see if we can get some people who would be great fits for you. That'd be awesome. And I'm thinking of people right now, and I'm like, I'm gonna be emailing some people. Let us know in the comments, tag them, or you can just tag myself, Hannah, it's me. So where can we find you? So if that project manager jumps out and says, Hannah, that's me, where can we find you, and how can we get in touch with you?
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram at I am Hannah Koenig. You can, and just hop right into my DMs. Tell me what you thought about the episode. Tell me how much you love Nicole. Tell me that you want my money so we can get you hired. You can also, my website is hannah-koenig.com, hyphen in between, because Hannah Koenig was taken. Apparently there's another one of me.
Really?
And there's contact information on the website, and you can email us directly.
Awesome. I'm so excited for who comes out of there and comes out the woodwork. But thank you so much for being here, for letting me be vulnerable. Quite frankly, that's the only time where I felt the need to cry or wanting to cry during the episode. So thank you for letting me do that and for teaching us about leadership and true leadership. It was different hearing it here. This is different, and how we can show up in our business as leaders and make impact and really do the thing. So I really appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you having me. I'm so excited to connect with your community. I love you. I love your work. I'm really just grateful for this space.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to thank today's guest. She made me cry, but that's okay. Hannah Koenig, thank you so much for being here. We'd love to have you as a guest for this show. So if you're an online coach and you are just as impactful and as amazing as Hannah, she'll not make me cry though. But if you are that guest, go to fempreneuronline.com/guest to apply to be on the show. And so at the end of every episode, we say, who's next? Okay.
Yes, love that.
Good. Okay. So, I had to put myself off camera for a second. We're still live, by the way, but I had to put myself off camera just so I could wipe the tear a little bit and not look like a total schmuck in front of the live social media world. Okay. So this is the part after the show where we kind of just put some things together and make sure that the episode works and that we have everything.
Okay.
To go here. So you have it in the live chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take myself off the camera. I'm going to mute myself. And then if you just say each line and put a little bit of space in between so we can do the editing thing in between. Okay. I'm going to take myself off and mute myself.
Hi, I'm Hannah Koenig, and you're listening to the Fempreneur Coach Connection. Hey, I'm Hannah Koenig, and you're watching the Fempreneur Coach Connection. Hey, I'm Hannah Koenig. Oh, I'm going to have to do that one again. Hey, I'm Hannah Koenig, and we're talking about the 3 pillars of powerful leadership, only on the Fempreneur Coach Connection.
Yay. Okay.
Okay.
So that is great. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, we'll try to get you a project manager. Hopefully we have them in my audience so we can get somebody hired here.
Yeah.
And as you said, take my money. So hold on. Let me just end the broadcast. Thanks for watching, guys.